This week, we're going to be working on bonds of 10. This means numbers that go together to add up to 10. And this is really important because our number system is based on 10. So 10 is a very important number for us. A quick reminder before we start about the 3 C's that guide our course. The first C being reminding us that we want to move our learners on from counting in ones to be able to calculate and be comfortable with numbers. The second C is check for understanding. We always want to see if our learners are with us, and that doesn't mean we go, do you understand? It means that once we've taught something, we give them a question, another maths example, which they will ask them to answer, and that is what we will use to see if they've understood. And we've got various methods to check for understanding, and we'll go through these as we work. And then the final C is connect. We want to make sure that we are always connecting the old ideas that we've worked on already to new ones, the different parts of the class. So what we learn in the warm-up can be used in the game, etc. And we want to make sure that we make strong connections between the representations that we use and the concepts that underlie them. As always, our session starts with the warm-up. This is a fast-paced, nice, quick, fun activity, and we work with the whole class together on this. This is a very simple warm-up. It is really going to involve you flashing a number of fingers at the class and asking them questions. So, for example, if you flash up fingers like that, you say, how many fingers do you see? And you want them to immediately be able to answer 8. We're not wanting to go and show the learners, yes, let's count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're wanting our learners to be at the point where they can immediately see what is going on there. And they should be able to, if they can't, don't take them back to counting in ones. Go for the idea of, on my full hand, there's 5, and then on my other hand, they should be able to immediately see the 3. So in total, there's 8. Try not to take them back to let's go and count it, right? We're wanting them to just see it immediately. So you do a few more like that. How many fingers do you see? 7, etc. Go back and forth flashing. Then, of course, you can do it the other way around, right? After you've done a few of those, you say to them, all right, show me 9. And then all the kids in your class must lift up their 9 fingers. And of course, while you're doing this, you are doing your check for understanding, because you can immediately see when kids have to lift up their fingers, if any of your kids are not very confident and able to immediately show you 9 with their fingers. And you then know that those are some of the children that you might need to work with a little bit more individually when we get, for example, to the worksheet part of the class. All right, so once you've done that for a little bit, you can then mix it up by going, okay, how many fingers do you see? 7. And then immediately follow that by, and how many fingers are down, or how many fingers are hiding? And they need to say 3. So that they start to see 7 up, 3 down makes 10. So how many fingers do you see? 6. How many fingers am I hiding? 4. So that's your warm-up. Do a few of those, make it fun, make it fast-paced. You can do some where you're doing it, and if you want to even, the learners can just do it with each other, so make one of them show the fingers and the other one say, etc. But whichever way you do it, a nice fast one, we're wanting to get out of it that our learners can instantly recognize numbers, a number of fingers shown under 10, and also be able to start to see what are the 2 numbers that go together to make 10. So if I've got 6 fingers up, I've got 4 fingers down. Always after our warm-up, we're going to just set aside literally 3 or 4 minutes to do an individual fluency drill. And these individual fluency drills are where we are really working with our learners to try and get them individually able to be automatic in their basic number facts. We want to ensure that all of our learners become fluent in some of the basic calculations. And in order to do that, we do our warm-ups where we are practicing regularly, right? But we also want to make sure that they do it individually, where they actually are individually having to give the answers. And that's why we've created the little Fluency Fun booklet. So after every warm-up, you want to hand out one of the Fluency Fun booklets to every pair of learners in the class. For those who've not been able to get printouts for every pair of the Fluency Fun booklet, I'll explain right at the end what you can do instead. But let's first follow along about how it will work if you have the Fluency Fun booklet. The way the booklet has been designed is that when you flip it open to a page of questions, okay, so here we've got the questions, the set of questions, questions A. If you turn the booklet over completely, then what you've got on the back of the booklet is the answers to those questions. So you can see there the answer set A. So that means that if the pair of learners are sitting and the little girl is holding up the questions for A to face the little boy, what the little boy can see are the questions, and what the little girl can see at the back are the answers. So she can basically then take him through those questions. What's 5 plus 3? And he must say 8. And then she will count, either using her fingers, or she's got a piece of paper, she can make a little mark as to how many of these he's getting correct. So she'll say, if he says 8, she'll say correct. 3 plus 4 is, and then he must say 7. And she'll say correct, and then she'll say 4 plus 3 is, and he goes 6. No, not correct. 4 plus 3 is 7. 4 plus 0 is, and then he must answer. And so she will basically take him through the questions and tell him whether he's right or wrong each time. And then at the end, tell him, well done, you managed to get 5 out of 8 right. What you're going to be doing while they're doing this is, of course, walking around to see if they're managing and if they're also going at a reasonable pace, because we don't want them. The point is to get to fluency, not counting on their fingers, not having to take a long time counting up in their head or whatever. We want them to start to get to know the answer immediately. Okay, so you're going to be observing that as they do it. Once the little boy has got through all of his questions, he then takes the book, turns over the page, and what he will have, the little girl will now be seeing, is the B set of questions. And what the little boy will now be seeing at the back will be the answers to the B questions. And he will do exactly the same. 0 plus 1 is, and she must answer. He will tell her if she's right or wrong, and he'll keep a count of how many he's getting right. You, of course, observing, so you will check whether your kids are kind of doing it reasonably fluently or not. If they're not doing it fluently, or if they're getting a lot of them wrong, you might want to say to them, hey, let's do that one more time. And so they'll flip back, and the little girl will do her A questions again, the little boy will do his B questions again, just to kind of give it a second round of practice in order for them to get a little bit faster. Okay, but it's 8 questions, so even if they do it twice, it's 8 questions for the little girl, 8 questions for the little boy, and you're wanting them to go at a reasonable pace in asking the questions. This should not take more than a couple of minutes to do. What if you're in the position where you haven't been able to print out the Number Fun booklet? Really isn't a big deal. It just means a little bit more work for you. What you're going to have to do is take a little scrap piece of paper and write on the front the questions, and on the back the answers, and you give that paper, and you give a version of that paper to the little girl and a different version, right, to the little boy, and you do that for all the pairs in your club, which might take a little bit of effort to write out, but it'll have the same effect. What everybody needs to do is just keep a note of where your learners finished off, so you know what letter to start them on next time. So here we've seen that we did A and B this time. So of course in the next session we want to go on to C and D. And you'll keep going like that as you go through the booklet.